Adam, Carolina controlled the action for the most part on Saturday against Campbell. Hashtag as expected, right? I mean, the first quarter, I thought the Tar Heels looked a little sluggish. Mac Brown used the term, a little bit of a hangover from the last couple weeks. I think that's probably right. Campbell came out with some energy. They were excited, as they should be. And we said last week, Campbell has good offensive personnel. They had a little bit of success moving the football early. But as time went on, Carolina just kind of squeezed the life out of this game and took control of it. It was 7-7 after the first quarter, and then Carolina scored 52 unanswered points. So 59-7, the final score. Campbell had 108 yards of offense after the first quarter, Adam, and then from that point forward, 109 yards of offense in the first quarter. And then from that point forward, Carolina really shut them down. They had 178 yards the rest of the way. So I think from the Carolina perspective, speaking strictly defensively here, you can say a little bit of a slow, sluggish start, didn't look great at the beginning, or you can say, but the rest of the way, thought Carolina looked really good. And even second and third team guys, I thought played hard and well defensively, and Carolina did some good things. I thought, and again, understanding this is an FCS level team, but Carolina, I thought, really seemed like anytime Campbell wanted to run after the first quarter, it was just a wall of blue on the line of scrimmage, and they just didn't have anywhere to go. So, again, understanding that this is the least talented team that you have left on your schedule, I still thought Carolina did some nice things after a little bit of a slow start, which I think can be expected.
I think you saw pretty much what you thought you might see in this game. You saw Carolina be better than Campbell. You saw there be some things that the Tar Heels, of course, need to clean up before they play this final 3-game stretch and do better. And you saw some folks who you haven't gotten to see play as much have some nice moments.
Yeah.
And that's basically what you want in this game. You don't want Drake May to play 4 quarters. You don't want Omarion Hampton to play 4 quarters. You want to see some other players. You want to see some signs that some things have been worked on. But it's also, I don't think, realistic to expect you to be razor sharp for 60 minutes against a team that the players knew they were better than, and the scoreboard reflected that fairly soon after it began. So some hiccups that occurred, you do need to get those cleaned up before Duke, obviously, and that'll be the focus this week.
You know, offensively, Adam, I mean, Carolina went 3 and out on the first drive, and then after that really didn't have much trouble moving the football. They punted a few more times, but for the most part, it was whatever Carolina wanted to do. I think it was 4 times they had a drive of 75 yards or more for a touchdown that took 5 or fewer plays. So they were moving down the field in some chunk yardage. And that continued even after Drake May and Tez Walker and Omarion Hampton were no longer in the game. Omarion Hampton goes over 1,000 yards for the season. He's already, I believe it's now 18th place in a single season at Carolina. That's with 3 games left in the regular season, plus at least one other game other than that, assuming the Tar Heels accept a bowl invitation. So he's got a lot more in him if he stays healthy. And he's put together a terrific year. And remember, he had a 75-yard touchdown called back. So he could have had over 200 yards in this game. Adam, it is Carolina's offense right now, and it even in the games it lost, outside of getting away from Hampton some in the second half against Virginia, the offense looked good as you expected it to. Drake May's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Omarion Hampton's one of the best running backs in the country. I think the negative is the penalties. I don't know why, but, I mean, Carolina had 3 or 4 more holding calls on Saturday, and it has hurt them in more important games than this. The most notably, of course, the touchdown being called back against Virginia, several big plays called back against Georgia Tech. I don't think Carolina suddenly is holding a lot more than it was earlier in the year, and I don't think Carolina's holding more than other teams. But for whatever reason, it is something Carolina has to get cleaned up. And, I mean, they work on it. They have officials at practice. They throw flags in practice for just this reason. And yet it is something that is concerning considering how close you expect these last 3 games to be.
Yeah, that was the textbook example of, well, you can get away with that against Campbell. But the Tar Heels also have the textbook example of you cannot get away with that against better teams. And it appears as though Duke is better than either Virginia or Georgia Tech. So
certainly defensively they are.
Right. So you just got to get that cleaned up because there still are some question marks defensively. And you can't afford to give points away on offense.
Yeah, and we said this last week. I mean, Carolina's offense is good enough that it's still going to be able to move the ball some and put up points and yards and things like that. But it is facing arguably the 3 best defenses in the ACC, and they might even statistically be that. I don't have it in front of me right this second. But you are facing 3 of the best in the conference. And so you've got to expect that your production is going to drop a little bit simply because of the quality of opponent that you're about to face.
And that's been something the Tar Heels have known ever since the schedule came out. Mac Brown talked about it on day 1 that he had the schedule in his hand. What a tough close this is. Carolina wanted to be in position where these games mattered. You could be in a position where you have this tough close and really nothing to play for. Carolina does. You've gotten through the first part of the schedule, not unscathed, but at least in position to feel like you have something to play for. And these are the types of games you want to play. You want to play at 8 o'clock at home for something that matters, like the victory bell against a rival opponent, and then have 2 more big road trips left. So you're not exactly where you want to be,
right?
But you're in position of where you would want to be.
Adam, just last time, I mean, Carolina played close to 90 players in this game. Great to see Connor Harrell get some meaningful snaps. Chris Culliver, a player that the coaches have talked a lot about, they think in the future is going to be a great player for him. Amari Campbell on the defensive side, somebody the coaches have talked about, they think is going to be a great player for him in the coming years, and you saw some of those guys produce. So great to see. And of course you got deep into the roster, but really good to see, I think, some meaningful snaps from guys who you think will play meaningful roles at some point in the near future.
And with the advent of the transfer portal, you really need to know something about them. It used to be you could say, well, we'll find out about them in spring practice. Well, that might be too late. You got to know before then how you feel that they might do in game action. And so that was a chance to see them against, again, not an ACC level opponent, but it was game action against another opponent. And sometimes that makes a difference. And I mean, Connor Harrell might be the biggest mystery man on the Tar Heel football roster. And you finally got to see him run some semblance of a normal Carolina offense, and he acquitted himself well.
Yeah, had that 61-yard touchdown run, a 41-yard the pass to Culliver for the touchdown. Really good throw. So good day all around in Kenan Stadium for the Tar Heels, doing what they should do, and that is control the game against a team in which they are better than and had some success in every phase of the game. You know, there was some consternation about the field goal mishap at the end of the first half. Mac Brown's been very open about it, that a coach should have stopped the team from running out on the field, that it was certainly some confusion, that Carolina wanted to go up and spike the ball so that then the field goal unit could go out there and set up. Again, an example of didn't really hurt this game, but now has identified something that Carolina needs to make sure that it has cleaned up in case that situation comes up again in a game where those 3 points may be much more impactful.
Well, and you know that's going to get drilled into heads this week to the point that will not occur again. If it does, that's inexcusable. So to have it happen in a situation like that where Mac Brown can harp on it and say, This can't happen again. If it does, it's inexcusable. But also, we won the game, guys. So It's not the end of the world, but it cannot happen again. That's how you fix things.
Well, and that came after the Tar Heels had done a nice job using their timeouts well, manipulating the clock so they got some opportunities to score before the half. And then I saw, I guess some people, I think, thought that was an onside kick that the Tar Heels had at the end of the first half, when I didn't think that at all. I thought it was a squib kick, that it was just mishandled. I don't think Carolina was trying to get possession. It just worked out that way.
I think part of the reason some people thought that is because they were confused on TV. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
Adam, I've got an idea. Let's call that our CR Legal Team. How can you justify that? Brought to you by CR Legal Team. CR Commitment, CR Results, CR Legal Team, proud partner of Carolina Athletics. Yeah, that wasn't an onside kick.
Carolina head coach Mac Jones would not call for an onside kick in that situation. Oh, Mac Brown. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, that's what you got to get the head coach's name right.
Yes.
That seems like it would be one you'd want to get right.
Well, I think especially if he's a Hall of Fame
not
coach.
Exactly a young whippersnapper in his first year of coaching. Somebody that's pretty experienced and accomplished.
Yeah, he didn't just get here from Gardner Webb or something and getting his feet wet.
Adam, anything else about the football game on Saturday? Carolina now 7-2, and of course faces this difficult stretch. We will preview the matchup with Duke later in the week.
Hard to believe there's only one home game left.
Yeah, and senior day, Mac Brown was funny. He was joking on the radio show, which you haven't even had a chance to hear it yet. It's coming out later tonight. We had to record Mac Brown, not live this week, but Mac Brown's show on Monday morning. Couldn't air it last night due to the basketball game, so it's going to air tonight. But he said, we may have to change the name of Senior Day to we think it's the last time you're playing in Kenan Stadium Day. And so it's just very different. We've seen guys over the last couple of years go through it multiple times. Sam Howell went through it when he knew he was going to go pro. Mac Brown had said that they will talk to Drake May, and if he wants to go through it, he can. If not, that's okay too, although it's likely his last home game with the Tar Heels. And we are getting close to the end of the extra year of COVID eligibility. There is still one more class of players that has the ability to have the extra year. So we're getting close, but it's still not quite there, and that is part of the reason for all, plus the transfers and everything else that has made roster management so challenging.
I won't mind when it goes back to what year a player is.
Yeah, that part has been a challenge.
Also, Carolina Clemson 3:30, in case you've missed that.
Carolina Clemson 3:30. ABC or ESPN TV-wise, of course, we'll have it on the Tar Heel Sports Network. We're on the air at 2:30.
What?
I just realized, Adam, that I gave you some bad information earlier
that's
today.
Right. Okay, yeah. We'll chat offline.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
When I saw that release and it said that they had flexed 2 games and Carolina Clemson was one of them, I said some potty mouth Adam words, and then I realized they only flex the network, which I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Put it on the CW. I don't care.
No, easy.
But the time is set in stone and cannot be moved because it is 3:30 in Death Valley.